My name is Steven THUNDERCAT Bruner, and I started playing bass when I was around 4, and it's basically carried me all the way up until now, where I'm with Brainfeeder. Just kind of grew up in the house of music, grew up in a very open environment musically and creatively, you know, not a lot of shut doors emotionally. It's kind of translated like that through everything I've kind of done, you know. Tried to be loving and caring to everything I've done with other people, and you know, that's basically where I'm at now. And me and Flying Lotus, like, you know, my brother from another mother, we just came together on this album, and there will be many more in the future, of course, but specifically in the sense of the golden age of apocalypse, yeah, me and Lotus had a lot of fun. Growing up, I was a really big fan of the a giant fan of the Thundercats, you know. Like, it was very big to me. It was very creatively energetic. Kind of contributed to my, you know, me emotionally, I felt when I was younger, you know, something to hold on to. And as I was getting older, it just translated differently through the years. You know, I visually would draw things. I'm a visual artist too, so I would draw. And as I was growing, you know, it's kind of like the name it just kind of became an adopted name. I never called myself Thundercat, but, you know, I'm the one guy that would always have on a Thundercat t-shirt. You're lucky I don't have one on now, basically. I feel like I don't need one because it's actually tattooed on my hand, but, you know, that's how sincere it's been for me, you know. It's just been it kind of represents me. To me, it represents who I've always been. I met Flying Lotus a few years back at South by Southwest. This is not a plug for South by Southwest until I'm there. I was actually hanging out with my brother and my sister from Davey. We were out there doing some shows, and we were just kind of walking the streets like a bunch of ravenous feral kids, you know, like the Goonies. And, you know, lo and behold, we run into Flying Lotus in the middle of the street at a club somewhere. And my friend introduced me to him. And I was like, "Oh, I've heard of you." And he goes, "Yeah, I heard of you too." I was like, "Yeah, we should hang out sometime." And from there, it was just magic, you know. There's lots of different characters on this album. From Shafiq Husayn to Erykah to Chris Dave to Adrian Farad to, you know, goodness gracious, a slew of musicians helped me working on this, you know, a few songwriters and a whole host of characters creatively with different perspectives. Brooke from Davey, you know. I just wanted them to see a connecting point, I guess, more so than anything, and how connected music should be. I never really thought too much about doing my own thing. My dad always used to have to tell me, "Steven, you're a star. You have to do it. You know, you're that guy." And I was like, I don't get it. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I just wanted to, realistically, my goal with this album was just to connect the dots to a lot of things the best I could, you know, like not have something so contrived, like it's like, you know, some cool, like, you know, yeah, I'm doing a hip hop album or I'm doing a jazz album. I didn't want it to be that. I wanted it to be so mixed up you couldn't tell what was going on. You know, some people think it's this smooth jazz, and some people think that it's really aggro jazz. Some think that it could be like, you know, some serious things going on that are very subtle. You know, it's like it's to be taken like every direction, but it was kind of, I wanted it to be a seed, kind of. I want people's minds to be open, you know, and, you know, hearts to be open. You know, your heart will take you different places that your mind won't. And not just that, I just want people to be able to try to come out of themselves, to, you know, check things out sometimes, you know, listen to things, you know, be open your ears a little more, you know. Don't be so shut to things all the time, you know. Well, I mean, it's my show, so so it's definitely in my control a lot of the times. But at the same time, I want there to be some freedom on stage. You know, people are so musicians. We're so used to being told what to do. You know, it's like it's the inevitable. You know, but it's like sometimes I just be wanting people to do what they want to do on stage. You know, it's like, and by way of that, it's almost like watching a flock of birds fly around. You know, it's like, you know, a couple of them take off this way, then they all take off that way. And, you know, it's like, and it turns into this weird symbiotic looking kind of. They're not paying attention. They're just flying together. You know, it's like I like those kind of moments in the music. You know, as far as how I want people to see the live show, it's like, you know, I definitely want to, you know, work on my singing, but you know, it's also one of those things where it is what it is. So it's like I really want people to not be so. I want people to just be open. You know, like what I see all the time at, like, you know, my brother Lotus's shows, and just be vibed out. You know, and be on another planet. You know, come check the music out. You know. Well, LA is like definitely a Renaissance area. And my teacher, Reggie Andrews, growing up, we would always call him a Renaissance man, because it's just, LA is just, it's exactly that. It's just a Renaissance. It's like so many different aspects to it, where the music comes from. You never know where things are coming from. You know, people always come to LA and go, "Oh, I didn't know you were talking to, you knew this guy. How did you know?" You know, it's like LA is a very big, small place. It's a very big, small place. That's the best way to put it. And you know, people basically open their hearts really in the music, because a lot of the times that's all you got. You know, everybody's not making $1 million. Everybody's not Lady Gaga. You know, everybody's not Rihanna and, you know, 50 Cent. You know, I mean, that happens. You know, but it's just one of those things where there's a current that flows in LA, and you know, sometimes you fall out of it. Sometimes you wind up going right into it. You never know. You know, it's just it's full of fun, and it's very unpredictable. A lot of people try to put their finger on it and try to go, "Yeah, I figured it out," and then it's like, nah. So that's really, it's kind of like very mystical to some degree. It's like you never know where something's coming from. Like, who knew Tyler would have become, you know, this dude, this massive, you know. I mean, you know, of course he's one of those people to me that's like, you know, just shot out of a cannon, you know, basically. But that's that spirit of LA. It's like, you know, we never really left. Yeah. Years since the New Americas were being recorded. I met her when I was way younger, and it was funny. When I first met her, I didn't know what to do. I was just kind of like, and you know, it was kind of like we actually met through Sa-Ra, and Sa-Ra was working on a couple of albums. They were signed to Good Music, Kanye's label, and there was an album being worked on called Black Fuzz, and that was also around the time of Nuclear Love, or the age of the age of evolution, and those were all being worked. It's like kind of like Sa-Ra's house was kind of like it was like just a primordial soup for creativity, and it was like literally like, you know, it affected so many people, you know, because we all kind of came out of that, like Davey, Georgia, you know, Sa-Ra, Shafiq, tons of different artists, you know, and it was one of those things where when we met, it just was like, you know, it was part of that whole, it was like the energy that was going on when we were working together. And I think I remember what it was like when I first met her. I was kind of sitting in a room just, you know, playing video games or looking at, like, you know, beheadings or internet porn. And I was sitting there acting silly, and when she walked in, I introduced, but then we were introduced to each other, and then they started playing music for her and everything, and, you know, after that she was like, "What is it?" I remember that it was specifically the song "Move Your Ass" on Sa-Ra's album, because that actually was supposed to be on my album, "Move Your Ass," and then we reintroduced ourselves to each other, you know, and it was like, that's from what if I can remember correctly, which I probably don't. Yes, pretty sure she'll tell you something different. I just want to keep progressing and growing and moving forward. I'm enjoying doing the shows. I hope people more and more will enjoy what I'm doing, and that's all I can hope for. You know, I hope that I can keep creating music that connects to people and, you know, draws people in, and, you know, keep growing.
Love,